Well, here we are live, and today is Thursday, March the 11th, and it is the weekly interview time with Lucy. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. If you're joining us live, would you down below write hashtag live, or if you're seeing the replay, hashtag replay. And also, if you want to comment or react to anything that is being said today, allow StreamYard to use your information, and you'll see some information there. My guest today is a wonderful, awesome person by the name of Keith Allen Weedman, excuse me. And Keith is from Indiana. As you know, I'm coming live to you from Mexico. And what I want to do is tell you how Keith and I first met. We both belong to the KBB family. Now, the KBB is KBB stands for Knowledge Business Blueprint, which is a program that is co-partnered with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. And so we both joined that program, and we became, we got to know one another in the program. So, but when I really got to know Keith was when we both applied for the implementation lab. And we were going to do the implementation lab live in Phoenix, Arizona last March. And of course, COVID hit. And here comes Dean Graziosi, who has to pivot big time and decides to do the implementation lab virtual. So that was the very first virtual event that Dean put on. And then, of course, the same thing happened with the summit, the World Summit 2020 that they put on in October. It had to be virtual also. Okay, without any further ado, let me introduce my guest, Keith. How are you?
I am great. Great to be here with you, Lucy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me and also my audience. Now, I joined the KBB in 2018. Keith, when did you become involved with the KBB?
I got involved at the very beginning in 2018 too.
And I know why I got involved. I wanted to start an online program. What was your reason for joining the KBB family?
I've been a Tony Robbins fan since 1988 when I read his book, Unlimited Power.
Okay.
And I've been intentionally being mentored by people who have worked closely with Tony. Mm-hmm. And this is my first chance to work directly with Dean and Tony.
Okay. So I know, so Tony's been a fan of yours for a long time, right? I mean, he's been a great influence on your life, right?
Yes.
And so are there any other great influencers that you follow?
Yes. Dr. Robert Shaw is a great influencer on my life.
Okay.
And he created a course with Werner Erhard called Mastery in Psychotherapy. It was an 8-day course, and I was so astonished by my ability to affect change after taking that course that I signed up and got a master's degree. It was an external degree program before they were popular.
Right. I remember that EST program. Could you? I mean, I lived in San Francisco then, and it was really very popular. What made you join that program?
At the time I joined EST, I had a girlfriend who was moving to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. I was staying in Indiana, and I didn't want her to leave. My heart was broken. Mm-hmm. And I signed up for the EST training because I wanted to have my life back.
Right.
After I had participated in the training, there was a whispering among the ladies who I worked with. I worked in an office. I was a manager of an office that was filled with women. And you know how women talk among one another. There was this whispering and giggles, and I didn't know what was going on. And then finally, my bookkeeper approached me, and she said, "Have you fallen in love with somebody?" I hadn't fallen in love with anybody. I had my girlfriend moving to Hawaii.
Yeah.
She was still leaving, but I was not focused on that all of the time. I was living in the moment. And living in the moment brought my life back.
And that's what S was all about.
Yes.
Now you have a wide range background. You worked for the state government at one point, right?
Yes, that's
can you talk a little bit about that and how what what you did for the government? I think you were in a welfare program.
I was a county director for the welfare department in 2 different counties, Montgomery County, Indiana. And it was while I was in that position that I felt unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And because I felt unfulfilled, I thought I wanted to become a master psychotherapist. I took this 8-day course. I was the only person in the room that had no background in mental health. There were psychiatrists, there were clinical psychologists, there were clinical social workers, and there was me, a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Management. Because I didn't have all that other knowledge,
Right.
I was able to much more readily grasp how to affect change through brief interactions.
Wow. My God. But you instigated a welfare project that was very, very, very popular and important, right? Could you tell us a little bit about what your part, what part you played in that?
I was an instigator. I was a catalyst.
Okay.
What happened was because I was in an external degree program,
Mm-hmm.
I kept thinking about, well, how does what I'm learning relate to what I'm doing in my day job?
Right.
And I found myself naturally looking at how to affect change as a leader, as a manager, not just among our employees, but also among the community.
Right.
And by the time I was done and I had my degree, I knew it was possible to change the welfare system. And I made a commitment to do one thing each day. And that turned into a second full-time volunteer job.
Oh my God.
It went hand in hand. I did for 7 years. And I built relationships working towards the common end of transforming the system to be one that enabled people to stand on their own 2 feet. Because people really wanted to be self-sufficient.
They did. Mm-hmm. They do. Yeah, and they still do today, really.
Absolutely.
There is so you felt unfulfilled, however, in that particular situation. Was that, and then you went and got this master in psychotherapy, and then of course Tony was a great influencer, and then you joined the KBB. What were you going to do with all this?
Well, my passion today is I've got knowledge that's more or less disappeared from the planet. I studied constructivism epistemology. The people who wrote about constructivism, they were brilliant minds, and they wrote in language that ordinary intelligent people couldn't understand.
Right.
When I read their books, I had a dictionary by my side. I would look up 5 to 7 words in one paragraph. Their books didn't get read. Their expertise disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
At the time I was in my course, I believed that constructivism epistemology would change the world. It didn't. It almost disappeared. I'm not going to let it die. My commitment is to bring constructivism epistemology to the world, which basically, to put it in common language, it's really all about taking the mindset of a scientist and applying it to the world, specifically the role of a manager and an executive and a social service leader and any type of leader.
Okay, so that then at that point, then you formed your business, right? You have a business called Level 3 by Design. Now, I'm very curious. Level 3 by Design. There must be 2 other levels. What are those? Where's level 1, level 2, and how does that fit into? And how does this become level 3?
Great question, Lucy. Level 3 stands for level 3 change.
Okay.
Most people, when you talk about change, they only think about one type of change. Mm-hmm. You'll hear people say that change is hard, that people resist change, that people don't like change, that people fail at change. Right. And all these things are true.
Right.
You're talking about behavioral change. The problem is most people don't differentiate. There's other kinds of changes. Because of that, they trick their mind. They think If I'm always like X, I'm always going to be X.
Right.
They project their past into the future. And we don't have to live our lives that way.
Okay.
So level 2 change is change that results from perceiving differently. Perceiving differently can happen in a moment. You take my favorite quote of Tony Robbins: life happens for us, not to us. That is a change in perception that can spark an immediate change in behavior. Tony Robbins went from being on real stages all over the world to being on no stages for a period of months. And then he launched UPW, Unleash the Power Within Virtual. He reached more people in the last Unleash the Power Within than he's ever reached any time before. Plus, he also reached literally, I think, 850,000 people in his free Facebook training.
It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Actually, I was part of that UPW in March, and it was the very first time that I had ever done other than the KBB program, which Tony is involved in. I had never done a Tony Robbins program, and it was phenomenal. I mean, I heard people talk. Everybody I knew had taken UPW. Now I want to take Date for with Destiny.
Yes, me too.
You haven't taken that? Okay, well,
not yet.
But you and I, I've been watching you for a whole year, Keith, and I've seen you I don't know if the word is struggle a little bit with Facebook Lives, but you were determined to, that you were going to do it, and you were going to do it every day. And I mean, and you are doing that every day, are you not, doing Facebook Lives?
Well, now that you share that, let me confess.
Okay.
If you are somebody like me, and you do Facebook Lives every day, and then you stop and you don't do it for a while, I lost it.
Right.
I lost my mojo. And then I restarted this January. And I think I'm up to day 60 now.
Wow.
I'm not stopping this time.
That is so.
When you do it every day, to me, that's like a repetition.
Right.
The more you do, the more engaging you can be.
Right.
You want to be engaging. I want to be engaging.
Absolutely.
And then what Tony did, he affected me in other ways. I take a 3-minute cold shower at the start of each day. I get up at 5:30 in the morning for the first time in my life. I never hit the dozer alarm. I get up the first time that dozer or that alarm rings. And that's a major change in my behavior.
And I can, but almost being an entrepreneur, you just almost have to, when I started my online business, that's when I started getting up at 5:30. I'd never gotten up at 5:30 before in my life when I was a teacher. But that's what you do, but only because of the mindset is really important. And that's, I prepare in the morning. And so, but I have to admit that cold shower, I won't go for it.
Well, just say you haven't done it yet. Well,
I've done it a few times, so I kind of know. I kind of know how it feels. I want to talk about this is a diversion. I know that you're also a follower of John Maxwell, right?
I'm familiar with John Maxwell. I'm intrigued by his comment that leadership is influence. I love that comment, and I agree with that 100%. Okay.
So I was under the impression that you took his coaching course, but that was not so.
I've worked with some people that have done his course.
Okay. So you have your business. You did the KBB program. What is, first of all, let me ask you, who are your clients? I know that they're business people, but they're business people in leadership positions, right?
Yeah, I'm focused right now on small business owners who adhere to universal core values and care about the people that they lead and serve.
Right.
I work with them and their management team to learn how to affect change through brief interactions. I teach them through brief training how to affect change in 2 to 5 minutes each workday, different ways to affect change. That's what I do.
They can do it in 2 to 5 minutes. Can you give us an example?
Well, so for example, Lucy, you are somebody that I admire.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire you because you are a role model for what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
You may be at an age where many people are retired. You
Right.
are definitely not retired. You're going for it. You're all about affecting change. And I believe we all have within us the capability to do what you're doing. And it's a choice that we make. Most people I know are not role modeling what's possible like you are. My compliments to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Keith. I really appreciate that coming from you.
What did it feel like when I just said that to you?
Well, it felt, it made me feel like I was doing the right thing, and it made me feel valuable, and made me feel, it made me feel like I was giving value to people. So, and that's what I want to do. That's really what I want to do for the rest of my life.
And what I was doing with intention,
Mm-hmm.
I was giving you sincere positive feedback.
Correct.
My intention was to evoke positive emotions within you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know positive emotions elevate performance.
Absolutely.
And I want to see you keep elevating that performance. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. So what about a person who is about to lose their job? I mean, do you deal with that kind of person, some leader who's about to lose their job, and obviously they've gone down a negative path? How would you possibly bring somebody like that back to the leader?
Now you're getting back to my roots.
Yeah.
I actually started by affecting change within the office. And I worked with people that were working as professionals and as managers and as administrative assistants. Then I moved on to working with clients. And the people that we worked with, the people that we served, had typically been through some hard knocks. They've been knocked down and they didn't know they'd get back up.
Right.
What you're talking about is every leader who's lost a job has been knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I could help them get back up.
Wow, that's a great. I think that you could help a lot of different people. I mean, I'm thinking that of coaches also could use your level 3 by design experience. It's a curriculum, right?
Yes, I teach a curriculum to learn how to affect change, how to unleash hidden potential in people through brief interactions.
Right.
I teach multiple ways to do that.
And the other thing that I want to mention, along with everything else that you do, I know that you're in a Toastmaster group and you're president of your Toastmaster group. So you have a very, very busy day, And Toastmaster, of course, is all, it sounds to me like you do a lot of free giving of yourself.
That would be accurate.
Yeah. And so the Toastmaster, I know I've been in Toastmasters before, and to be president, that takes up a lot of time and it takes up a lot of organization for each meeting. So how do you fit that in your weekly schedule?
Well, I know that that if you're a leader, that you're always focused on elevating your skill, elevating your leadership skill, and also elevating your communication skill.
Right.
In Toastmaster, you get a chance to elevate both skills at the same time. One of the ways that I do this is in my role as president. Another way that I do this is just by giving speeches and giving people feedback to their speeches. Every time we have a meeting, it's amazing to me how productive our meetings are because we step into different roles, and in each role, you get a chance to show your communication skills and your leadership skills, and then you also get a chance to receive feedback. Everyone in a Toastmasters meeting receives feedback except for the person called a general evaluator.
Oh.
And each week you take on a different role, so it's a great place to learn and elevate skills.
Right. So you must be Mr. Positive. I mean, it sounds like I've spoken to you before, and you always have a way of looking at the positive side, no matter what is being said. Did you grow up that way, or what? Or
It's a disciplined practice for me.
it's a discipline?
We always have a choice of how we perceive things. Right. And we can perceive things in a way that opens possibilities, or we can also perceive things in ways that closes possibilities down. I choose to open possibilities, and I know you do too.
Well, I do, but you know what? It takes mindset. So Keith, tell me an ordinary day for you. What's that like for you? I mean, I know you get up at 5:30, and you set the mind, your mindset. You take your cold shower. What happens after that?
So I take the cold shower to overcome fear.
Okay.
I dread the thought of that cold water hitting my body, and I do it anyway. I push myself. Mm-hmm. And that's something I learned from Tony.
Tony, right.
Then from there, I go to priming, and I utilize priming as a way to prepare myself for the day. Mm-hmm. Then I do 15 minutes of hatha yoga, and then I set my goals for the day. And then I go about fulfilling those goals each day.
Now, how do you remain? One of the hardest things for me as an entrepreneur working alone is focusing and implementing. I think maybe you have an edge on that a little bit.
Well, what I notice about myself, and I believe is true about you, the more we practice, the more effective we become.
That's true. We have a Facebook user here. I guess StreamYard is not letting us see the names, and I still don't like getting up. So, what am I able to do is stay until Sam to work. I don't understand. 5 a.m. That's what it is. I'm reading it as Sam. I still don't like getting up at 5 a.m. But what I am able to do is stay until 5 a.m. to work on my business. Well, that. Some people work all through the night, so that's terrific. That's really something. So here we have another. I'm just going to read these to acknowledge our comments here. I'm with you, Keith. I also think that Lucy is a great role model. I know that she is hard on herself because she's an achiever and she would like to do more and go faster. Yeah, that's true. But one has to state this here. You are one amazing lady. Thank you. 70, Lucy. I only had one role model in that age. Before that, and it was my grandma. But now you joined that elite company. Oh, that's great. I'm somebody's grandma. That's good.
You're a role model for anybody's grandma.
For anybody's grandma. Okay. So who do you like? Do you like working with coaches also, Keith?
Yes. Well, my focus is people that adhere to universal core values. Mm-hmm. And I've never met a coach that did not adhere to universal core values.
Now, you and I had a discussion once about coaches. You don't consider yourself a coach, right? You consider yourself a trainer more than a coach. Is that correct? And could you tell me what the difference is in your mind?
My primary focus is teaching.
Okay.
I've got all this knowledge and skill that I've accumulated, and I want to impart it for others because I know that it can make a difference in the world. Right. That's my commitment between now and until I die.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's quite a commitment. That's like saying January 1st, I'm going to do this for the rest of the year. And then you break your, how are you going to hold yourself to do that?
Well, I've just enrolled in the podcast accelerator course, and I'll be taking that for the next 8 weeks. Looking forward to that. And I'll be utilizing podcasts as one of the many ways that I engage with people. Mm-hmm. And I'm planning to have some awesome guests on my podcast. And each time I have a guest, I'll get a chance to get to know them a little bit. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, so that's really exciting. Also, I know that there's a book involved here. I think you finished your book, or you're about to finish your book, right?
I finished my first draft of my book.
Okay, And what's that all?
Well, it's 12 ways to change people's lives through brief interactions.
Okay. Nice title.
And each time you do that, you actually unleash hidden potential within people.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just other people, it's also within yourself. So my focus is always on serving others. And through serving others, you also serve yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and then now let's talk about, I think now you're working towards taking your business and making it, monetize your business.
Yes.
I understand that you have a webinar set up.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit about that? Because it's not a free webinar, it's a paying webinar. Could you tell us what that's all about? Where, if anybody was interested, for whom this webinar is, and what is the goal of the webinar?
Well, what I do is I teach in 15-minute modules. I teach you different ideas, different knowledge you can immediately apply to affect change in people.
Mm-hmm.
And in this one module, this introductory module, I'll be teaching through mastermind.com. I'll be teaching people how to affect change, how to unleash hidden potential in people simply by expressing your gratitude for somebody. And when you express it, you want to evoke within yourself the positive emotion of gratitude. And then by doing that, you will also evoke positive emotions in the person you express your gratitude for.
Absolutely.
And the more you practice this, the more effective you can become. You can keep elevating your skill to affect change by expressing gratitude. That's one way.
Okay, so but now is this particular webinar geared to a demographic, of population here?
I'm targeting small business owners
Mm-hmm.
and their management teams, and small business owners specifically who adhere to universal core values.
Okay, so that could be a coach. That could be,
Yeah.
any entrepreneur, really.
Yes.
So, and then you mentioned that it was on mastermind.com. Could you tell us a little bit, because not everybody's familiar with mastermind.com. Could you tell us what that is and why mastermind.com and not some other platform?
Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi have their names behind mastermind.com. The two of them are great role models of mine and of yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I believe that by having our coursework on mastermind.com, that we're going to be able to attract people to us that adhere to the universal core values that I'm speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tony and Dean both adhere to those universal core values, and their followers, and there are many. There's 35,000 of us, and there's many others that have been touched by Dean and Tony.
You can imagine all those eyeballs,
Yeah.
that are following Tony and Dean. So mastermind.com is a platform that actually was started for the KBB program, and yet it has grown into something else.
Yes.
So there's a lot of publicity out there about mastermind.com. So great. Well, I'm so happy for you that you've come all this way. I love watching your lives. I am happy that you got your webinar up on mastermind.com. And so what's next, Keith? What's in the future in the next I know the podcast is coming.
The podcast is coming, and the book is going to be published.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to get through my editor first.
Mm-hmm.
And before it gets through my editor, she's given me some assignments to do. So the ball's back in my court to work on my homework, to then get to the next iteration of the draft of my book. I've gotten the first draft done, and in some chapters I've done more than one draft, but eventually I'll be narrowing my niche in my book.
Okay. So you've got some work to do in the next 6 months for sure. And then of course getting your podcast going, and that's going to be anything else that we haven't heard about that's out there. I know your mind's always going.
Well, right now, through my Toastmasters Club, I'm doing some experimenting. You know that I'm benevolent.
Yes, you.
And so I've been working in a benevolent way with Toastmasters who have been displaced from employment.
Okay.
I've got 3 modules that focus on feedback, which fits perfectly with Toastmasters' mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working with Toastmasters who have lost their jobs to help them get back in the workforce. We're going to be considering whether or not it makes sense to look beyond working with this narrow niche.
Okay. Okay. So you've got your work, out there for you. It's just waiting for you to get it started, I guess. As I would say.
It's already been started. It's already been piloted, and now it's figuring out what the next step is.
Okay, well, my listeners, if there's, I think we've covered everybody. Somebody said the KBB community is definitely a gem, and I'm proud to be part of the family. I wish I could see a name. It just says Facebook user. I was able to go much faster in my journey because of the people I've met there. And I certainly agree with that, and I'm sure you agree with that.
Absolutely, yes.
So, and the great thing about the KBB, what's happening now is that the new launch is coming for the new 3.0, and that's going to happen in May. So, we have that to look forward to, and so lots of exciting stuff happening ahead of us. So, I want to thank you, Keith, for your time. You're, I don't know, I know how benevolent you are. I think you mentioned something that you had maybe a little something for my guests. You had a little mention of that.
Yes. Well, I can't do everything for free.
No.
But I would be open to interacting with people and having an initial conversation. And my commitment when I have an initial conversation on Zoom is I always look for opportunities to provide value.
Right.
Because I perceive the world in a creative way. Typically, I will perceive ways to help you perceive your situation, yourself differently.
Mm-hmm.
If I do that, I'll offer that up. And that's a demonstration of what you can learn from me. Okay. You can learn how to do that for others. So it's really a way for me to market what I do, what I teach, by demonstrating for them in a conversation. I would love to have a conversation with anybody who's interested.
Okay, great. So anybody is interested can contact Keith Allen Weedman if you go to his www.level3bydesign.com.
Yeah, and actually my email is keith@level3bydesign.com. That's the number 3, KEITH @level3bydesign.com.
Okay, great. And I'll put it in the comment down below, after we finish the interview. So thank you, Keith. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for the man that you are, for helping so many people, for letting us see things differently. That's a wonderful gift that you have.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I want to thank my listeners for being with us today. Those of you who are live, who stayed till the very end, let me remind you that if you have a great story and you want to be interviewed, contact me by message or message me, and let's make that happen. So we'll say goodbye. And
thank you, Lucy. I really admire you. I applaud what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Keith.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.